now you're aware of it. You go back 10 years, they grew up without it but didn't know it. Now you're like, can I have some of that back? So there's a big difference.
So I want to talk about this very briefly. You mentioned this with Mark. I forgot when, but our generation, I feel like, are born adopters, right? So all of these social media platforms, we don't really have a frame of reference for what came before it. That's why I find this whole ideology of like advertisements and social interactions being like hand in hand. I don't have a real problem with it in the frame of that's how it's always been. And now that I'm realizing what it's affecting and what the reasons behind it, I just always thought, especially growing up, when I made a Facebook when I was like 10 years old, and I was like, oh, it's free, it's fine, everything's cool. And I realized like, oh, maybe my mom was right. Maybe I shouldn't have been on this, because all of my data is on there. They have like my geographical location. They have my age, you know, what my interests are. Now I'm seeing that's kind of, it's perverse almost. Like, it feels very invasive. Has that something you've always been aware of as like adopters of platforms, as opposed to someone like us?
We could actually be anonymous or pseudo-anonymous pretty easily, and it really took someone who really knew what they were doing, headhunters or some deep. It took a while for people to unmask you. It's called doxing. It was the whole point of calling doxing, which is someone starts a blog, you have no clue who they are, they don't have an address, there's no phone number, no one's tracking IPs. It just wasn't something that was done, and so doxing a blogger was considered a big thing because now their safety was
fake
there.
Steve Jobs. Remember that one?
Yeah. I mean, it was actually a thing we were just learning. And so as everybody rushed to get on social, they never thought about privacy. The old MySpace used to have a place. I loved it as a recruiter because it was a place you could put how much money you made. So you'd look somebody up, and then they didn't go back to their MySpace for 5 years, but you knew how much they were making and the companies they were with, which was fantastic because now I knew how much I knew what to call them and do, right? They stopped doing that after a while. But you guys have grown up in a world without privacy. And the thing is, now you're aware of it. You go back 10 years, they grew up without it but didn't know it. Now you're like, can I have some of that back? So there's a big difference.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.